get these interesting interactions. Let's see who ends up bringing what to this match as we hop into turn number 1.
So yeah, there's of course the added element of the fact that both teams have a second deck, and we have passed on Team Italy's side here. We have we have just gone to turn 2.
So not as good of a start as we're used to from Team Italy here. Just passing the turn over. You could call that a world champ difference if you ask me.
Yeah, no, that's
and there's the Snake Eye Ash. That's how that look Team Italy, this is how you do it, is what they're saying.
Yeah, you definitely start with okay, all right, Psyframe Gamma being activated immediately on the Ash here. Now, the good thing about the Gamma isn't obviously just the fact that it negates the Snake Eye Ash. It's because we do get to remove the body completely from the field.
Oh, and the driver
it was in the hand.
From the hand. That explains so much. It does also mean, though, that there is the possibility that they might have had a play, but they just decided it maybe wasn't good enough, and they rather wanted the Gamma to be live.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there's ever an opportunity where you just hold some of your disruption, especially if it's just a single card, right? Like if your opponent just goes Ash, like, you know, I've seen some people sometimes holding for Oak, or like rather the second effect of the Snake Eye monsters.
It's the kind of thing where you can quote unquote like gamble on whether you want to like does your opponent have another way to play, because if it's just the Snake Eye Ash and you use a card against that, then they might just have to pass the turn. However, here we're seeing the Diabellstar as an sort of extender to their plays, being able to grab that original Sinful spell, and that is one of the dangerous things about using your interruptions early against the Snake Eye deck, because they might just have a way to keep playing, and essentially I'm not quite ignoring the fact that they got hit with that Gamma here, but still definitely alive and kicking here.
Yeah, I mean, there's still 2 walls in defense that we still need to try and fight through, so dealing 8,000 through this could be a little bit of a think through, shall we say, as we bring out the Snake Eye Oak from the deck here. And I was going to mention the, I suppose, like one of the more interesting points as well is, I think, like, typically we've seen people, at least I've witnessed, like, using that Wanted in the draw phase, because the idea is that you get rid of, rather you play around the Droll and Lockbird. But I think that, you know, holding it is just better, and that's kind of what we've seen here from Team Spain Netherlands, because you could always just chain it, and you also don't give the information out.
That is the key thing there, is that because Wanted is a quick play spell card, if you have a way to play the game already, you don't really have a reason to do it in the draw phase, because you can just start your turn like they did with the Snake Eye Ash, and if you get hit with a potential Droll and Lockbird, you can just chain the Wanted to it, and therefore you're not giving your opponent the information that you had that Wanted like ready to go in case your Snake Eye Ash gets interrupted.
This is somewhat interesting, right? Because we're tagging out and we're summoning not the Flamberge, but we're summoning the Poplar here, and then getting the field spell, and we've already used the Sinful spells, so it'll be interesting to see how we extend past this.
This was the same sort of awkward situation that we witnessed in an earlier game, because we could have summoned Flamberge Dragon, which is what you would think they really want to do, but if there's no other face-up cards for us, we don't have a way to send the Flamberge to the graveyard to get all the recursion going, right? The summoning back level 1s and putting bodies onto the field. And so we're just going to see the Flamberge being in the spell and trap zone here with the Temple, which will let them summon it out as soon as Team Italy commits anything to the board. The Flamberge is going to jump out.
No.
It's not going
They
to
are not drawing good cards.
They are not committing to the field.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, especially in this situation, even if you do have a play, like, you're going to lose out on so much advantage, because that field spell triggers to bring out the Flamberge, and that's going to set them up really nicely for the following turn. So it's a downhill kind of fall here from Team Italy.
This does make me think that they have brought the Snake Eye deck again, because it is one of the weaknesses of the Snake Eye deck in Master Duel, that it is sort of like focused around those one-card starters, right? Like you draw one of those, you know, your Poplar, Ash, whatever, and you're good to go. You're one Diabellstar or you're one Wanted, and you're in the game. However, if you don't, which, I mean, it happens sometimes. The deck's consistent, but sometimes you just don't have one of those cards, and we're seeing that from Italy here. However, Team Spain / Netherlands also needs another way to commit to the board here.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it feels like both teams are playing conservatively. We'll see at the end if Italy is either, you know, holding back or just straight up bricking here.
They have a choice.
Yeah,
I'm going to be honest with you. I do not think that they are doing this because they want to do this.
But also, we have seen Spain-Italy playing, Spain-Netherlands playing, you know, somewhat conservatively here, right? Like, I think like they're definitely just going with that full kind of setup, and then on the following turn you can push if there's anything that goes wrong. And most important of all, potentially, is Nibiru, the primal being.
Yep. And we see the Sinful Spoils spell card, the original Sinful Spoils in the graveyard here, guaranteeing another way to a Snake Eye Ash for Team Spain Netherlands, which is going to kick off a whole lot of plays for this turn. It's interesting. I want to point out that they decided to bring the Linkaribo back on the last turn. That is interesting to me because had that Linkaribo still been in the graveyard, it could have helped them dodge a potential infinite impermanence here, which could have potentially stopped them in their tracks if Team Italy had it.
Yeah, I think maybe just setting up that Poplar in the scale to give them some more advantage if they choose to send it here and bring out a second Flamverge out of the deck, maybe. I guess there's not really...
You can, but I mean, at that point, you can also just use the Ash and send the Flamverge directly from the Spell and Trap Zone, because it will also be able to trigger and bring back 2 level 1 fires if it's sent from the Spell and Trap Zone to the graveyard.
We haven't seen the field spell trigger yet so far through this Invitational, but it's obviously a really important card because it does allow you to play through things like Nibiru, and anytime your opponent just summons a monster, you get to bring something out of your scale here. But also an important part of the field spell is the attack boost. It's
like
really big.
Super random sometimes how it makes those little snake eyes that are not meant to be that scary, how easily it turns those things into actual damage on the board. Because like we see it here, 1900 Ash, 1800 Poplar, and the Linkaribo. Like, that field is just 4,000 points of damage before the Ash just left the field.
Yeah.
Like, we were already halfway there with a Linkaribo and 2 level 1s.
Yeah, and there's that Flamverge coming out of the deck here.
Flamberge 2.
Flamberge 2. The ratios we've seen, I suppose, you know, 2 Flamberge is kind of standard. I think in TCG with Fire King, that's like typically 1, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any reason to go above that, I would say, right?
It's the one card in the entire deck that is, like, not great to draw, right? It's like, the deck has so many different lines of play and all that, but it doesn't have a great way to get the Flamberge out of the hand if you do draw it. Obviously, Ash and Oak, when they tag out sort of effects happen, they can summon from the hand, but obviously you'd rather summon it from the deck.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of discards, I mean, some people do play some Nightmares. 1-for-1 is a way to get it out of your hand and trigger.
The problem is, like, rather...
You want that set up in the grave already?
First of all, you can only really get to those discards if you are already playing, right? If you've already managed to resolve a lot of your effects. And the second thing is, even if you open something like a 1-for-1, you won't have targets yet to revive with it. It's really hard to set up level 1s in the graveyard and then discard the Flamberge, I think, is more like the problem.
So if there is an Nibiru, then this will be the moment to use it most likely, as we put up about 5 monsters here.
But this is where the field spell would come in and basically...
And still bring out the Flamberge,
yeah.
But it's usually like once the resolution of Flamberge has occurred, that's generally going to be a decent place to stop it.
It would at least make them survive the turn for sure. If there was a Nibiru, I would think they would survive the turn. Because if there's no Nibiru, I'm pretty sure because of the field spell boost on all the little snake eyes that we're going to be able to put 8,000 points of damage onto the field.
It's Promethean Princess, and as long as we get to summon that, we're always going to be kind of happy because just having this in the graveyard is going to be really important.
It's such a crazy good card in the long run because it doesn't even banish itself once it returns from the graveyard.
Okay, going straight to the battle
We have calculated, and this is in fact an...
It is Labyrinth, okay.
That is not something I was expecting, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
That is completely throwing me off guard right now. I was 100% expecting them to just have queued their Snake Eye deck and not drawn a starter. Because they also didn't set anything else. Like, it was just... What was their hand?
So, I think... Okay, alright.
A lady.
That explains... Yeah, maybe we just have a bunch of ladies in the hand here, potentially lovely, right?
Yeah.
So I believe the logic here is that Labyrinth is really good at beating the decks that beat Snake Eyes. right? So like if you have
were
something,
they making the call because they showed their Snake Eye deck already?
Yeah,
that
I think
maybe
so.
they were afraid of getting their Snake Eye deck countered, and that's why they brought I mean, I'm just happy to see that. I mean, that's what we were talking about earlier. We said there are these sort of possibilities. Obviously, here it's a little late. they needed a better hand earlier. I should have said like.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, you can see here, I think they've obviously just drawn like a bunch of Labyrinth cards, none of which actually start your engine. But Coup Clock is decent, because now we get to actually activate this big welcome that we're going to be sending over the deck here.
Another
Double Gamma,
They
wow.
opened Double Gamma Driver.
Yeah, that's not great. Well, Labyrinth is, you know, as mentioned, like I'm pretty sure that was their logic, because I did speak to Colossal before the start of the event here. Was things like Kashtira, for example, could be good meta calls against Snake Eye.
Okay.
And so Kashtira has a pretty terrible matchup against Labyrinth generally.
So like in general, you just want to have a solid second deck that does well into like the decks that maybe played Dimensional Shifter, for example.
Yeah, so you beat the counters with your second deck, and then you have your main deck, which is the Snake Eye that we saw on display already. And also mentioning the field spell, you know, we did talk about it earlier, but yeah, because we're summoning in the battle phase, we get that Flamberge out, and that's even more damage on the field here. We'll see if we have any sort of disruption for this big welcome. And don't forget, we're under Max C, which doesn't typically hurt Labyrinth, but there are some situations.
It can, because like randomly sometimes Labyrinth just starts popping off using both of the trap cards in the same turn, using Lady in the same turn as well, and it's what we're seeing here. And especially the Stovey Torby as well as their furniture Labyrinth piece of choice here. If they were to bring that back, it would also be another special summon, as the Lady Labyrinth gets hit with an infinite impermanence.
It's, I suppose, a little bit annoying because the Lady wasn't targetable or destroyable. But then because we flipped the big welcome,
but I mean, they
had used the effect.
Yeah, they had.
Then she got negated, so that's unfortunate.
They had to make it vulnerable.
Okay, so I think
they've given 3 cards to Team Spain Netherlands with this Maxi.
I think you summon Ariana to try and just summon the Lady again here. No,
you have to, otherwise it's still enough damage for. Like, because they can still attack over the Ariana.
And all of this is under Max C as well, so, you know, we're in a bit of a situation right now.
It's a rough spot for the Labyrinth deck, which, honestly...
Oh, another Imperm, okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Quantal.
Yeah, we see you. No, this is a really good position for Spain Netherlands, and I think this would have definitely turned out to be a different game if we had some way to actually play on turn 1. You know, that just instant pass... you can't really give any deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! A turn, essentially, for free, but giving Snake Eyes a turn, specifically, like, once they've got their full setup going, like, I don't know, this was always going to be a big struggle. Which
is unfortunate, really, if you think about it, because Labyrinth is one of the more powerful decks when it gets to go first, typically. Not even just in the sense that it sets a lot of trap cards, but it also has a lot of like hidden combo potential with the furniture version that we're seeing from Team Italy with the Coup Clock and the furniture pieces. You can make a lot of stuff happen even on the first turn, and I'm gonna go as far as say, like, I think if they had that Welcome Labyrinth 1 turn earlier, like if that was part of their first turn setup, right? Like they set the Welcome Labyrinth, they pass, and then, you know, they hit them with the Gamma, and then have the Welcome Labyrinth ready to go. Maybe there was a world where they can win this, but they just had
especially because they had double Gamma, because I would feel like they'd feel kind of comfortable and insulated from like an Ash Blossom, because if I see my opponent activate one single back row and they only have one set, I feel kind of confident to Ash it, and then they have like double Gamma, so it's like, you know, they seemed kind of safe, but, you know, too many defensive cards, not enough engine. It's just never going to really work out. Scaling Stovey Torby, by the way.
They did survive. They did survive.
We are alive.
Because of that Stovey Torby that they had to bring back, which gave them another card. So they survived. I wouldn't say if I would call this an alive position for Team Italy, because that's a lot of cards that they will have to deal with a hand that we at this point know is
Lady plus something. But yeah, it's not a great spot here, and I think I would probably assume at this point our opponents have drawn that all-important Ash Blossom against this deck.
Then it's just, I would say, almost impossible. If there's no Ash Blossom, they would still need a lot. It's a lot of work still.
But yeah, great display from Spain Netherlands here. That's a very, very well played out duel, I think.
Yeah, they didn't have the hardest task here because the opponent's hand wasn't obviously that great. However, I mean, you still need to, even these games, you still need to work for it and make sure you play them well to take him.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, Snake Eye, I think, is quite a technically demanding deck, right? So regardless of whether or not opponents open Duel or not, you're still going to have to, like, you know, work for it, as you mentioned. And I think that's probably going to be one of the cool parts of any mirror matches we see here. That's a good top deck, I suppose.
They're just being taunted by their deck because now they're seeing, like, turn after turn, they're seeing these great starter cards, and they're, like, always thinking, I wish I had that a little sooner. Because it could have made all the difference, you know, opening that Prosperity or opening that Welcome Labyrinth could have completely shifted this game around, I think. Like, instead of that Cyframe Driver, honestly, that's the one card I'm always the most furious about when I draw it in my hand.
He is indeed a Psychic Soldier that rides on currents of lightning. Okay, does not Ash this. Could just be a case of we don't really worry about Prosperity, right? Because you can always Ash the target of Prosperity, and the target
just
of
the
Prosperity.
knowledge of what they're going to get is pretty valuable.
And looks like they're grabbing a Ariana normal summon, so that's going to be able to fetch something if we don't decide to just stop Ariana by herself. Anything in the grave? The Big Welcome could potentially
will help
dodge a
them
targeting
avoid,
effect.
Yeah, there's no way to stop this with like an infinite impermanence because the Big Welcome can avoid it.
And yeah, so it's obviously been a rough start here, but they're trying their best to
the thing
stay
is,
alive.
the Labyrinth deck is not completely out of it here because we know they have a lovely in hand, a lady in hand rather, that they can special summon and use. Then they have some graveyard setup, right? They have a Big Welcome in the graveyard, which represents a bounce effect, which would then trigger the regular Welcome Labyrinth in the graveyard, which they can then. One step further, they have a Coup Clock in hand that they added back last turn, which they can discard and immediately use it. So they've got some stuff going on.
And this is as well what I mentioned earlier about the technical demand of Snake Eye, right? Because I think it might be quite easy and tempting to just throw out the Princess Disruption at any point here. But I do feel like you kind of have to think about where you're going to like disrupt with the Princess at this point.
And I like this Welcome Labyrinth search a lot because their line is going to involve special summoning that Lady Labyrinth. And this Lady, okay, this is interesting because that Lady Labyrinth is now targetable. Because the Promethean
you definitely want to set
Princess,
first, right?
Exactly. That's why I thought they searched the trap card. I thought that's what they. Okay, all right, okay.
We have more. But yeah, so a key point of Lady Labyrinth is that it is untargetable and indestructible with a set card here.
And I think I think they thought of it, and that's why they grabbed the Welcome Labyrinth. But then maybe they moved a little bit too quickly to special summon the lady out.
Perhaps we might be able to go to the table here and have a listen in right now and see what Team of Lily are thinking, if we can get an audio check on that. Hold? No? Okay. All right, we'll try tune in a little bit later. But yeah.
We will hear from these players eventually.
There's the... Did we have a disruption here? Yeah, no, so this is what we risked, right? Like, that's the... yeah,
the princess has been activated, which it could activate regardless because it doesn't have to target the one that's being summoned immediately. Like, it could have targeted the Ariana. But I think it targeting the lady is a bigger problem for Team Italy here because you would ideally want to use that this turn, and now they cannot. They have to, like, save it from the Promethean princess. And Team Spain Netherlands is going to miss out on the Flamberge revive here because Flamberge does not have the option to bring back up to 2. It has to bring back 2. And we have too many monsters on board. What a problem to have.
Yeah, truly suffering from success here. Yeah. It's one of the downsides to Flamberge is it has to bring back exactly 2 here. So, yeah, not completely out of it just yet. Welcome is set. We do have a Coup Clock in hand to potentially bring out...
We can use it. We can use it. The problem that I have is because we let the lady be targeted by the Promethean, we're not generating the advantage that we could be generating with this Welcome Labyrinth.
Yeah. Bringing out Lovely from the deck could be okay, right? And then you can fetch something out of the graveyard, although you could only be really getting the set Welcome. And she's also pretty vulnerable. And don't forget, this is Maxi 2 as well, so this is both turns we're going to be having to play under Maxi, right?
Because I'm just thinking one way they could have maybe came back into this game was if the lady was still there, and they activate the Welcome Labyrinth, and they can set any trap from their deck. So I'm looking at cards like maybe Daruma Karmic Cannon to get rid of all the Link monsters. Could have been something, but now that the lady is back in their hand.
Yeah, Daruma is absolutely huge because it deals with an entire field, you know, and especially Link monsters, just being able to send them essentially for free is really strong here. So one set card, and that's going to be it. As the Stovey Torby just sits there feeling very lonely.
It's so off-putting sometimes to see these random monsters that have no business being in the spell and trap zone. Like, for example, one very funny interaction, I wonder if we're going to see it when we see Team UK on Branded again, is if you put a Mirror Jade into their spell and trap zone, you can't summon another Mirror Jade because it says you can only control one.
Okay.
And if it's in the spell and trap zone, it still considers like you're controlling a Mirror Jade, so you can't summon another one, which is very funny.
And I don't think they have any way to even remove it if they try, right?
I think it just lives there. If you put it, it's just there. I don't think you can get rid of it.
You know, I think all of these silly situations can come up. My favorite is like putting pendulum monsters there, but they don't actually act as pendulum scales.
Okay, yeah, or just putting against a pendulum, like just putting any card there, right?
Any card there really is bad.
Just like, oh, I cannot use my mechanic anymore. Yep.
Yeah, it feels kind of bad that pendulum just seems to get the short end of the stick every time there's new decks, but it is what it is. So we're going to scale another card here with the Flamberge, activating in main phase 1, just putting that Masquerena up, so we can summon that at some point in the future if so necessary, but don't forget we are fire-locked right now by that Princess.
And we're seeing the long-term value of the Divine Temple here come in as well, because like the Welcome Labyrinth that Team Italy has, they always have to keep in mind that I can use it, maybe, but then the Temple is going to bring out something else from the Spell and Trap Zone once again.
Yeah, sticking the right monsters in your Spell and Trap Zone with Flamberge is really important because it does just essentially punish your opponent for summoning monsters.
Yeah. And here, I mean, the requirements for a win on this turn are much lower because, I mean, we're already down to 2,300 life points from Italy's perspective. And I'm looking at the field here, and I can't help but think 2,300 damage is possible this turn.
It shouldn't be too difficult, but
I think it's possible. I think they can do it.
They should be able to.
I believe in them.
Not a lot of ways to survive right now, especially with 2 Flamberges. You know, sometimes chump blocking with 1 lady can work.
What's the biggest defense that they can put up? 2,900.
29 is for the defense, and then you can put it in attack for 30, and other than that, it's... Don't think there's any real way to survive. Putting Lady up is good because it's untargetable and indestructible, but it is vulnerable to just battle damage.
It can be run over by these Flamberges, especially the one out of hand has to be summoned in defense position, so that's always going to be smaller. The Amblo Whale can potentially also get like bigger. That's another card that I find it fascinating how when that card came out, which it's been a while, like no one really paid attention to it because it wasn't like no one anticipated it being this good.
Yeah, I mean it's because it has this like really specific like activation requirement to get its maximum value, and then we just have Princess.
Yeah,
which,
it almost feels like
it
feels like tailor made for interactions with Amblo Whale.
I mean, look at Diablosis, right? The Mind Hacker, right? That card just seemed like so specific and niche, and then a few years later, it's almost as if the deck Kashtira was designed for it.
It's kind of cool because it's like you're seeing a card being played that like never had a way to find its way into the spotlight of like competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, and now just randomly, because it is a fire monster that has great synergy with another card that fire locks you, it's just the best Link 4 you can pretty much make in this deck.
Yeah, and some key differences between TCG and Macedo right now is your extra deck can Snake Eye. So Pyro Phoenix isn't in there for easy OTKs.
Well, Zelantis is still great.
Yeah, it still works out nicely and does things different. I mean, how do you typically like set up an OTK in Macedo with Snake Eye? Because there isn't really like a particularly linear line compared to Battle Phase Zelantis plus Fire Phoenix, right?
The thing about
it's
Zelantis,
just big monsters.
No, the Zelantis lines still work. That is still, I would say, your premier way of setting up 8,000 damage as well as being able to clear some opponent's monsters. You just don't get that. The Phoenix is like the cherry on top. You know, that extra piece of damage, that extra monster you get. But or you can just use Access Code Talker.
63 attack Access Code Talker.
Wait,
is
did they
really
make?
nice.
Oh, they made it with a Link 4. That is very rare. Have you ever summoned the 7300 one?
Yeah, with Underworld Goddess.
Yeah, that's the biggest I've gotten to. Yeah.
I mean, after that, it would have to be like Adignister in a Cyber deck.
That's a Link. That's a Link 6. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only other way you can make like a really big one. All right, so this is gonna force it out because Access Code Talker has the effect that it's just an ignition effect, but your opponent can't respond to anything. So it has to be used now.
Who would win? An Access Code Talker backed up by 8 cards in hand, or a Lady Labyrinth backed up by a Coup Clock?
I believe in her. I am with her. She's got our clock, and on resolution here, I think we're gonna have to use that welcome set, right? No, do we already use it this turn?
We can't, so because I think that's 2 welcome labyrinths until I missed something. Unless
Is it
I missed
double
something.
welcome we have here?
I think so, because the Ariana searched one, and the first one reset itself. Yeah, we can use it.
Okay. Do we have a quick effect to stop Lady setting anything? So is this one being used from Coup Clock?
We do.
Here? Oh.
No. The Coup Clock would be allowing the next trap to be used immediately.
Okay.
But we're not getting one.
Yeah, so kind of like Paleo monsters, if you recall, that you have to directly respond to the trap card with Lady. Yeah. And Call by the Grave acting as we don't even care really. Like the Ariana negate is not.
It's just about the fact that it is anything that you can activate here. It doesn't really matter what it is. It could be a Call by the Grave, could be another Maxi, could be something like a DD Crow, whatever. You can just use a quick effect that's not a normal trap card to make sure the Lady cannot chain to it.
And poor Team Italy here, I mean, there's so many ways for them to lose, right? Because even if we somehow pull this off, right, like, I mean, Access Code Talker can still just pick apart the field here, unless we specifically had that Daruma cannon in the deck, which I would think is going to be quite popular in a format with Link monsters. I mean, with, like, some good one-off targets, like, you know, Dimensional Barrier, pretty good. Ice Dragon's Prison, I've seen a couple of people play that. Do you think people still play Eradicator?
I wouldn't expect it in this current format to be used, because, like, the Snake Eye deck plays a decent amount of spells, but obviously they can chain Wanted, and they mostly play off of their monsters. But something like...
seen any cool techs?
Different Dimension Ground is pretty strong against it.
We've seen a lot of people side decking that in TCG, right?
Exactly.
In Labyrinth.
Yeah. And Ice Dragon's Prison also, since they're all Pyro, you can like banish some of their key resources, because a lot of the cards are only being played once or twice. Like Snake Eye Oak is usually a one-of, and if you can banish that and a card of their field, that's pretty good. However, that Ariana is looking like a very juicy attack target for the 6300 Access Code Talker.
Yeah, and we should have, I think, 2 destruction effects from Access Code to clear the rest here.
Yeah, I mean, Team Spain Netherlands is at this point, it looks like they're playing with their food a little bit.
I'm pretty impressed that Italy managed to survive this long after that abysmal opening, right?
Yeah.
Like it's cool that they've managed to put up some kind of a fight here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is kind of like how Snake Eye is, right? It just generates so much advantage, controls the field, and it looks like this might be it.
The Maxis did help a little bit. Honorable mention to Maxi drawing, I think, a total of like 5 cards this game.
Yeah, big responsibility there. Drawing it twice in a row, Maxine to Maxine, in a control format, or a control matchup rather, is gonna be rough here. And yeah, Team Netherlands Spain, their first game of the day.
They're not letting Italy run away with a 2-0 score. They're going to be sitting at 1-1, and we're going to see if...
Let's get an interview ready for you guys in just a moment here. But yeah, that was a sort of textbook display of the control that Snake Eye can offer. We did like to see some Labyrinth. You know, I'm a big fan of the deck. I think it's probably, you know, we've talked a lot about it before, just how good of a control deck and how it is sort of the standard for trap decks in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, right?
Yeah, could have been a lot more fun if they didn't open. Yeah, if they started playing sooner. But they
got there in the end.
We're gonna hear from Ed and the winners of this round right now.
Take it away.
I am here with our champions of that third round. We have Team Spain / Netherlands, guys. Congratulations. I mean, being a world champion, you're no stranger to these kind of wins, but Snake Eyes versus Labyrinth, were you worried or were you pretty confident the whole time?
At the start, I was very confused when they activated Welcome Labyrinth. I assumed those Snake Eyes bricked. But honestly, the matchup is like 90-10. Honestly, I don't think Lavrov should beat Snake Eye ever. So.
Well, again, confident, and that's the kind of thing we want to see. Now, how do you guys feel as a team? Because obviously you're with one of the world champions right now. How does that feel for you?
It's really good because he's a monster.
That is true. And do you now feel, can you basically safely say he's a world champion because he's paired with you?
For sure.
Yeah, okay, good. I'm glad you said that. I've been going through your guys' notes that we have. We have notes on each of our duelists so that we can have a little bit of fun during these talks. And one of my favorite bits was looking at the expectations of the tournament. El Guardian Celta said, why set limitations for ourselves? We're going to win. And Quantal said, I'm going to win, Lamau. Same thing, same message, delivered slightly differently. So far, you feeling pretty confident with that statement?
Yeah, it's my catchphrase.
Well, it's probably going to pay off dividends at this. Congratulations, by the way, guys. A great duel. I'm going to let you guys head off this way so that you guys can get ready for whenever your next duel cometh. But the next one we have coming up, that was obviously